beautiful people, it's your girl Kini Grace Ken back at it again. And now today is a very special day. Happy Mother's Day to all my mothers. Beat up your leg chest because you doing it anyways. Recent experience have just reminded me how much we do as mothers and how important our role is. And I even want to thank the fathers and the men who step in and help mothers, who's there mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially for mothers. Honestly, cheers. Today, it's going to be a very personal video, but also a video that I know is going to help our moms to be, our sisters, our friends. So if you have not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button. If you have not yet shared, share. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for being with me, putting up with me, keeping up with me, and all that. Let's get into this video. I think that a lot of people's going to relate to this video, more because I think we've all experienced it in some form and some way. We are talking about toxic traits, abusive signs and behaviors. And we're not just pointing fingers, but also we're looking inwards, because what I found, depending on how you were brought up, you can also have very toxic and abusive behaviors in your everyday life. I had a lot of rude awakenings, especially these past months, past week, where you don't realize certain things that you're going through will affect you in the long run. But also, it's going to also affect your children in the long run. A lot of us, we are taught that marriage is hard. Marriage is difficult. Go through the fire, go through the storm. And I adopted that belief myself as well. But I've come on the other side and another place in my life where marriage shouldn't be hard. If it's hard, make sure it's hard because of the storm on the outside of our marriage, and not us causing storm against each other. I've also learned that when there's two really healthy people, whatever relationship dynamic that is, whether friendship, being work colleagues, it's gonna have a healthy dynamic and healthy ways about it. However, if it's coming from an unhealthy place, which I believe I've come out of a very unhealthy place, in my friendships, in my relationship, in my marriage, in my parenting, you will find that a lot of unhealthy stuff happened. But bear in mind, this is passed down. So a lot of things that I saw my mother did, right, is what I did. And it's through studying, it's interacting with new people, it's through getting counseling and therapy, doing the work, reading the books, doing the workshop, listening to the YouTubers. It is through all this that I have learned, I've grown, and I've become a better person. One thing that we all do as mother, I don't know about you, I want to do better as a mom. And I know all of us as mothers, we do this to ourselves. We analyze ourselves, we criticize ourselves, look at how our life is, we look at the choices that we've made, we think about how these choices have had an effect on our children. And sometimes we definitely beat ourselves up. I want us to understand that a lot of the time, if you have abusive traits, it is possible, if you want to change. As mothers, as wives, as sisters, aunties, we can change if we want to change. We need to be mindful who we are and the attributes that we have that are abusive, that can affect our children, that we picked up along the way, that we learned from our parents, but also in the relationships and the dynamics of relationships that we have and that we bring our children around. Now, we know all families, we're not perfect, okay? We're not looking for perfection, but what we are working towards is changing our family, experience for not just ourselves, but also for our children. Mm. Woosah. Woo. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to touch on is someone able to take your feelings, your experience into account, right? For some reason, sorry, for some reason, they're unable to hear you, to take what you are saying on board, to feel, to empathize, right, with you about what they're bringing or what they're complaining about. They just find it really difficult to understand, to hear, to get it. And so you'll bring their needs to them, you bring their concerns to them, and they will literally say, either you're selfish, you're always complaining, nothing you say to them is good. Just every time you have a concern that you bring to them, you're wrong. This person can manipulate you. This person can make you feel belittled, unworthy, and really play with your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, and get you to a place where you're actually questioning who you are and why you there, and everything's your fault. Is never that this person is able to themselves take accountability for wronging you in any way. You always got to bring it to them, and once you brought it to them, it turns back on you. They're just unable to take on how you're feeling, and they genuinely just appear to not truly care. I want to say this: we, especially as mothers, as women, we need to be so logical these days, as in accept what you see. We sometimes hold on to the beginning, how it started, and we want it to go back there, or we want it to get better, but we never stop and look at how it is now, how it's going now, and how should I deal with now. It's either we're in the past or in the future, and completely denying the now. But it is important for us to look at the now and see what is happening now and what do I want to do with right now. The next one I want to talk about is someone trying to control you. They met you like this, and by time you've been with them, you look in the mirror and you don't recognize who you are. You dress different, you talk different, you behave different, because when you got with this person, they criticized, they critiqued, they broke down everything about you, so nothing about you is good enough. So you try to change to meet their needs. This person is trying to control everything about you: who you talk to, when you talk to them, why you're talking to them, who you are around. By this time, you are isolated from families, you are isolated from friends, you are isolated from colleagues. You have no other life but what you are for that person, in that person's life. You gotta understand, when someone have tried or have successfully withhold you, isolated you, and cut you off from the world, they're telling you how to dress, what to wear, how to wear your hair, how to put on makeup. If you put on makeup, they're literally controlling you. Your thoughts is no longer your thoughts. Matter of fact, you don't even know what is my thoughts, because this person's voice now is in your head. And so you'll make a decision based on what this person will decide, even if they're not with you. You got to understand that's a form, well, that is abuse. That is abuse. And it will leave you walking on eggshell, worried about what that person will say or do if you do something wrong. It will have you very insecure with who you are, why you are. It will have you feeling very isolated and alone, especially if that person, when I go on to the next one, isolates themselves from you. And what I mean by that, number 3, is this person gives and withholds. their presence and whatever they know that is very important to you. Bear in mind you are isolated, so you're overly dependent on this person, and this person will give you their time and withhold their time, give you their love, withhold their love, give you their sex, withhold their sex. So they're somehow cause you to become addicted and overly dependent on them. And now they're in control on what they give to you. They have the treat, and every time you do good in their eye, they give you some. But every time you do bad, they withhold. When you are in it, I think it's very difficult to see. When you come out of something like that and you see the effect that it have on you, imagine the effect that it will have on your children, on your household, once you come out such an unstable environment. Another thing is becoming codependent. Now, this can happen in so many ways. Usually when you are anxiously attached, or you have the style of anxious attachment, you tend to attract the ones that avoid attachment. So they tend to avoid certain feelings. They come in, they withdraw, they come in, they withdraw. You tend to attract that one. Come from an anxiously attachment style, you become very clingy and codependent, and then you are clingy and codependent to someone who is avoiding these kind of situation. Like they want it, but they'll avoid it. That's their way of safety. Like that person become your drug, literally your drug, and they have control in when you get a high. It is not healthy for anyone to have that much control over you. It is not healthy for anyone to be able to control you in that way. You mentally, emotionally, sometimes financially, they have so much control and dominant over you because they know how much you are reliant on them. It is possible to come out of being an anxiously attached person and to become very secure through therapy, through learning your behaviors, learning your ways, and working towards becoming secure. Even finding or learning or entering into secure relationships, which can be difficult because first of all, you need to know what is secure. Some people see secure relationship as boring because they're not used to peace. They're not used to simplicity. They're used to a toxic and heightened emotional environment. And so when they find peace, they call peace boring. About is scorekeeping. This is someone who keeps score of everything they do for you. In past relationships, I had a list of wrongs that was done to me that I feel like, so this person apologized, they kept doing wrong. So the list kept getting longer. And in my mind, it's like, I'm not going to harm you. I'm not going to intentionally do you wrong. And if I do, I apologize, and I'm going to make sure I do not do that again. But I've come out of that and learned it is my responsibility. Though I was young, though I was ignorant, I've come to realize I have the power and I have the strength to stay and to go. If someone is constantly hurting me, it is in my best wishes and in my power to leave. And I found that once I came to that idea and that realization, I learned to trust myself enough to walk away when walking away is necessary for my mental health, for my safety, for my children mental health and their safety. Most of the time when I look at my past relationship, I will only walk away if what they were doing was causing harm to my children. And it shows me that I didn't truly love myself. It is only when I came into true self-love, self-acceptance, even in my imperfect ways, that I realized if I am in a relationship and someone is consistently causing me emotional and mental, physical harm, then is in my best interest to leave. Now that is easy for me to say now, but when I was broken, when I was insecure, when I was lost, when I was committed in those relationships, it was hard. It was not easy. It took a certain breaking point for me to be like, hey, this is not good for me. I need to go. All these signs are already there. And the more that you research, the more that you look into it, the more that you find out about what abuse is, what abuse look like, even within yourself. You know, because we sometimes have abusive tendency and we might not know that it is abuse. This one's a big one for me, disrespect. Now, for each one of us, disrespect might look different, right? There's that blatant, basic disrespect, and then there's other disrespect that's very personal to us, whether through life experiences, childhood, culture. Let me take a sip. Disrespect is someone threatening you, someone speaking very harshly, loudly to you, someone approaching you in a very threatening manner. Disrespect is someone crossing your boundaries, something that you've blatantly said I do not like, and they consistently and continually do it to you. They continually engage in that behavior against you. Abuse can be physical, emotional, financial, and all. It can even be neglect. Imagine being in a marriage, in a relationship where you are committed to this person should be committed to you, and your needs are not being met by this person, intentionally not being met. And so a lot of these things we bring into our marriages, our world, which we do not know is offensive, abusive, and harmful to our relationships. This conversation is so important, not just as mothers, but us who have daughters and sons, that we have these conversations and these dialects with them so that they can be aware of it. Oh yes, we can teach our children, we can show our children, but like me, put my hands up and say, I've gotten it wrong many times. I've gotten relationship choices wrong. I've gotten how I responded to certain things that I felt was harmful to me wrong. I've stayed in situations way longer than I should have. I wasn't the only one who experienced it. My children experienced it. I think this is one of the biggest things that causes harm to relationship is when there's no trust. Whew. This is based on your behavior. This is based on your energy, your vibes, the way that you speak. Lack of trust or not having trust for someone is so important. Trust is so easily broken. Imagine being in a friendship, in a relationship, and not being able to trust that person. That relationship is going to die. It's not going to work. And this can be because that person continuously broke your trust or broke it once, and from that your guards were up. Or could be from your past trauma that you just find it very hard to trust people. You don't trust them. You're checking their phone. You're checking what they say. You are questioning what they say. You want to know where they're at, why they're there. And even if they tell you they're somewhere, you tend to not believe them. And this comes from a place where you've caused me not to trust you. And trust is one of the things you need for the foundation. And if that trust is not strong, is not there, it is broken, whatever is laid on that, I'm sorry, it will fall. Cheers to that. I mean, cheers to that. Talk of emotional manipulation. Let's talk about that person who just is not taking any accountability for their behavior. Example, you have a friend. Your friend did something that they blatantly know was disrespectful and wrong. You bring that up to them, and instead of that friend taking accountability, apologizing, they somehow mess up your whole reality and gaslight you, manipulate you, so you feel guilty for even going to them for what they've done. That mastermind manipulator needs to go. And it is so important. I know when you're in it, because I'm speaking from experience, when you are in that, it is very difficult to even realize what this person is doing to you, especially if you don't even understand it. And this is why I encourage reading, I encourage researching, I encourage doing the courses that you need to even come to the awareness and the knowledge of all these abusive ways, so that one, you can check yourself, two, you can check your environment, and three, you can keep your environment and self safe, and you can keep your, not just you safe, but also your children. And it's so mad because this person will call you crazy. They'll make you question your reality. They'll downplay the hurt that they caused to you. They'll downplay it as though, oh, you're emotional, you're overreacting, it's nothing, it's time ago, it's time to move on. Okay. Uh, yeah, it is very difficult to be in something like that, and it is at your best interest. And I keep saying it, it's easier said than done. I'm in a place where I can talk about this. I'm in a place where I can encourage for you to get to a place where you are able to walk away. It's not easy, and I know this. I know this. And I must say, all this stem from childhood and what you learn, and it's so important for us to take the baton in breaking chains. And I know I've not been the best example for my children. I've been in, well, most of my relationship prior to my marriage, all my relationship prior to my marriage was abusive. Okay. And when you are in these long-term abusive relationship, when you've experienced abuse as a child, just witnessing the things that my mother went through, you take those on as your own, and you end up in these same dynamics, these same relationships. And for you to change, you have to have an idea and awareness and an understanding of a healthy relationship. And if you don't know what that looks like, it is very difficult for you to have one, or even desire one, or even choose one. Talk about constant criticism. Now, there's a difference between criticizing and then telling someone how their behavior has affected you, especially someone who's your friend, who's your partner, your husband. Criticism is someone constantly criticizing everything you're doing. They criticize your work, they criticize your appearance, they criticize your voice, your accent, everything about you. They critique it, even things that you cannot change. They make you feel like you're not good enough. They make you feel like you're not worthy. They make you feel as though something's absolutely wrong with you. And it's crazy when you come from around someone like this, and then the world is telling you how beautiful you are, how kind you are, how loving you are, how great you are. It's mad that you've been in something where someone never saw anything good in you. Sometimes it made me think, maybe it's their insecurities that they are reflecting on you, and it has nothing to do with you. But when you are in a situation like that, you tend to think it's you, but really, it's not. If you have any of these tendencies, if you have any of these behaviors, are you doing this to your spouse? Are you doing this to your family, your children, yourself? Realize that people who are like this don't love themselves. And the thing is, if they don't love themselves, then they can't love you. If you are like this, I will say you can change if you want to change. How? Therapy. Facing your demons, facing your past, facing your trauma, learning, reading, courses, and intentionally becoming better. Intentionally. I remember there was a time where my goal was to be kinder, and I was learning how to have someone look at me a certain way, or have someone say something to me that I didn't like, and be able to contain it. My communication skill is on top. But I feel like in certain situations and relationship, which I must admit is one or two, that I find myself behaving like this, I'm no longer in those situations or relationships where I find myself screaming or shouting. Context is important. So when I'm saying shouting, I'm not saying, oh, you end up shouting back or defending yourself, or you've been pushed and antagonized and then it will end up in shouting. Okay, I'm saying is that's your go-to. You didn't talk to the person, you didn't try to resolve anything, you didn't You didn't give them a sign, a message, a voice note, nothing. Shout, anger, frustration. Being able to communicate your needs, being able to communicate your concerns, communicate how you are feeling. There's a time for everything as well, so having the right timing. But there are some people who don't want to communicate, who will avoid, who will leave you sitting in that mess for a long period of time. And that is abusive, and that's very toxic. There comes a time in everyone's life, a light bulb come on, a light bulb. And I can remember many instances and moments in my life where that light bulb came on and I made a wiser choice and a wiser decision. And I hope you can share this video to someone who might need it, who will benefit from it. That I hope that light bulb come on. Whether it's you that have the behaviors that needs to be changed, or you that is in a situation that you are being abused or in a toxic place, that I hope that light bulb come on and you find the strength and the will and the help to come out of it. I know it's not easy. too well. I know too well that it's not easy. But I do pray for you that you will find the strength, you will find the grace to do what's best for you and your children and your family. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And once again, I know this is a very, very heavy topic, but very necessary. Happy Mother's Day. Cheers to mamas.
You can trust in me.